Rises, home builders despair. I'm David Jackson reporting on the CBS radio network. The cap in question is the ceiling for federally insured home loans. And the announcement of its increase covered a builders' meeting in Las Vegas with a wet blanket, as David Dow reports.
Suffering its worst crisis in 30 years, the nation's housing industry opened its annual convention, and things immediately turned worse. From Washington came news that FHA VA interest rates would shoot up another point Monday to 16.5%. And there was another bad omen. A stray rocket from a fireworks display opening the convention struck one of the delegates in the face, sending him to the hospital. Only mildly offsetting the bad news was the announcement by the Federal National Mortgage Association of 3 new plans that could help 1 million more Americans qualify for home loans. But almost everyone at this meeting of the National Association of Home Builders agrees that things can only get worse until interest rates across the board come down substantially. Without that, Association President Herman Smith estimates that unemployment in the building industry could soar from its current 18% to 22%. David Dow, CBS News, Las Vegas.
There was some relatively good economic news from Washington today. Inflation last year amounted to 8.9%, well below the 12.5% of the year before. Still, average buying power was down last year, down 3% from the year before, when inflation and taxes are figured against earnings. More news coming up.
Just in case your day seems to last a week, just in case the highway stands for miles, just in case you're dating your dance cheek to cheek, you got your Dial.
Dial, the leading deodorant soap, has twice the active ingredient of the number 2 brand. Twice as much for confidence all day long.
Just in case. You never know. Aren't you glad you used Dial?
With that normal bug.
It's normal. Not a 10.
This will be a blessing in sheep's clothing.
On One Day at a Time. Then stick around for some lip-smacking comedy.
Hey, Alice, your voice is as great as your meatballs.
On Alice and To the Price is Right with the priceless Bob Barker. Don't miss One Day at a Time. Alice and The Price is Right. Weekdays on CBS Television.
The National Weather Service reports that as of last week, before the latest blasts of winter were felt, about 76% of North America was covered with snow. That's a record for this time of year, and we're closing in on an all-time snow cover record. A new storm is burying the Midwest again, and it's heading east. National Weather Service forecaster John Graff in Minneapolis says it's a big one, as we'd see in satellite pictures.
You see it quite broad and pervasive, like a huge circular area covering good sections of Canada and the eastern United States as it deepens and has its rings around it moving to the northeast.
Both sides on the abortion issue were heard from today, which is the 9th anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling that legalized abortion. Thousands of anti-abortionists pressing for a constitutional amendment banning abortion marched in Washington. Nellie Gray was an organizer of that rally and was asked what good it does to march like that.
My answer has been that we are showing the world that America is pro-life and that we will not have abortion and that we will continue to march until we have our unity amendment, which has been introduced in the House and the Senate.
Those on the other side of the issue, like Judith Whitcomb, say that legislation hides behind the banner of new federalism.
It is an attempt to win the votes of members of Congress who otherwise have had the courage to stand firm with the pro-choice majority of their constituencies.
The prosecution in the Atlanta murder trial of Wayne Williams has asked to introduce evidence it says connects Williams with 10 more young blacks killed in that city. He's on trial in the murders of just 2. The judge is considering the request, says he'll rule by Monday. More news coming up.
The Bell System presents Hank Williams Jr.
From Gary, Indiana, trucking down to Newport News. Got another load of steel for the shipyard men to use. He's a bulldog diesel driver. He's 1,000 miles from home. Talking at a truck stop with his family on the phone. Reach out and touch someone. Wherever he goes, the people at home know how much he really cares.
Take it from
someone who knows, the road seems a whole lot shorter when you pick up the phone and call home. Riding blacktop rivers from the Great Lakes to the sea, reaching out to those he loves to keep him company. Reach out and touch someone. Reach out, call up and just say hi.
The Interior Department says it's broken a hot fish racket and that 41 arrests or indictments are expected soon in California and Oregon. Apparently, the people were taking salmon and steelhead trout from the Klamath River. That's not allowed. That's where the fish spawn. The investigation reportedly involves not only the fishermen, but wholesalers and retailers and restaurant owners all along the Pacific coast and east to Albuquerque. David Jackson, CBS News.
For roast beef lean and natural, fresh food that's never fried, come to the sign of the beef carver, 'cause the carver serves with pride.
Why have people been going back to the sign of the beef carver for nearly 25 years? For the great roast beef naturally carved just the way you like it. Many people think it's the best in town. They go back for the fish and chicken, too. At the beef carver, everything is baked or roasted, never fried, to keep all the natural goodness in. The kind of food you'd cook at home if you had the time. The sign of a beef carver. It's a lot like going back home.
When we meet together, put a smile on your face at the sign of the beef carver. For a banquet or a bite, for roast beef and other good things, at a price that's right. Put a real meal together. Pick a price that's really right.
Look for their special savings coupons in today's Detroit News. It's 11:07 at WWJ News Radio 95, and now...
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. We've chosen to call our story The Presence. Now, presence is variously defined as an apparition or specter, and as a person or being, especially an invisible one, conceived of as present, but not necessarily there. It's an indefinite sort of word, presence, and the definitions are not very helpful. Yet I think each one of us intuitively knows what a presence is.
What happened, for heaven's sake?
I don't know.
You knew all the answers.
I thought I did.
You did. I went over them with you the night before. Now tell me, young man, what happened?
I went into the room. They handed out the test papers. I looked at the questions. I knew them all. I opened up my composition book.
Yes.
All of a sudden, I didn't know anything at all. Nothing. So I left.
Our mystery drama, The Presence, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Elspeth Eric and stars Norman Rose. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
Many home repairs don't require a workshop full of tools. Just a few well-designed tools with a variety of uses, like the original vice grip locking pliers from True Value hardware stores. Hi, Pat Summerall to say a pair of 7-inch straight-jaw vice grips with famous instant lock and release action are just what you need to clamp wood, turn bolts, and more. And for many types of home electrical repairs, use the Weller all-purpose 25-watt soldering iron, available at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
Boy, Harry, I tell you, all everybody thinks about these days is what's in it for me.
Yeah, Joe, you're right. Well, gotta run. I'm due at the Red Cross.
Red Cross? What's in it for you?
I teach first aid.
Oh, picking up some extra change, huh?
No, Red Cross volunteers don't get paid. This is the 100th year we've been helping people.
100 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, Harry, you think maybe there's something in it for me?
Could be, Joe. Could be. Red Cross, ready for a new century.
They say their product is the highest quality.
But how can I be sure?
Well, they say it's a great value.
Well, how will I know until I try it, and then it'll be too late.
Well, there is another way.
A way to stop buying blind and start buying smart. Read Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports tests and rates thousands of things you shop for. Foods, home care products, appliances, automobiles, and much more. Millions of Americans read Consumer Reports magazine every month for reliable brand name ratings.
Oh, Consumer Reports, of course. My neighbor's been subscribing for years.
Now you can, too. Just phone toll-free 1-800-528-6600 for 11 issues of Consumer Reports, plus the big 1982 buying guide, plus the 1983 buying guide when published, plus the 383-page Health and Drugs Guidebook. All that usually costs $29, but now it's only $14. Call right away.
Was that 1-800-528-6600?
Right, 1-800-528-6600. Don't get taken. Get Consumer Reports.
Have you ever wakened with a start from a sound sleep? Sitting placidly before an open fire, have you ever felt a sudden chill? Immersed in a book, have you unexpectedly looked up from its pages? Walking down a street, have you, for no sensible reason, turned your head to look behind you? If you have, chances are it was because you felt, you sensed a presence, and there was no one there but you.
Why had I bothered to make all my money? Just to own this big house, a stable of prized thoroughbreds, to become master of the Eastover hunt? Was that all it had bought me? A wife who kippled all day long and half the night, and a son who had failed at the university.
Stop pacing about, Owen. You're making me nervous.
You're always nervous.
Oh, that's true enough.
Did you hear from Gordon?
Just the one card from Newfoundland.
You never showed me that.
Well, I mislaid it.
I don't suppose he said anything much. Having wonderful time. Wish you were here.
Just love Gordon.
Nothing about the ship? His stateroom? I got him the best, you know, forward on A deck. Well, nothing about the food, the passengers, just love Gordon.
Well, that's enough. For me, anyway.
I think the whole idea was ridiculous.
Well, that's what the neurologist recommended. He's supposed to know.
They don't know anything, those doctors. Not a blessed thing. All they want's your money.
Now, Owen.
Take a long sea voyage. See the world. Change of scene. New places, new people. Very easy for them to say. Suppose I hadn't been able to pay for it. What then?
But you were able to.
But if I hadn't been, he'd have had to go to work, wouldn't he?
Gordon was in no fit state to go to work.
He'd have had to. That's what I did when I was his age. Went to work, started at the bottom and worked my way up.
I know. You've told me. I know it by heart.
Well, I think I'll have a whiskey soda. You care to join me?
No, thank you.
When do you do your drinking, Nellie? I'd really like to know.
You have never, ever seen me drunk, Owen.
True. Nor have I ever seen you sober. You must start early in the morning before I wake up.
It's necessary for my back pains. You know that.
I don't know if you even have any back pains.
Ever since Gordon was born, I've had this bad back. I don't know why you begrudge me a little relief from pain. Don't I run this house for you, get your meals on the table, entertain your guests, do everything a wife is supposed to do? I don't know what more you could ask.
I don't know either. It's just that, well, there ought to be something more.
If you're going to keep after me and keep after me about this, that, and the other...
I'm not going to keep after you about anything. I simply want to talk to you about Gordon.
What's there to talk about? Gordon will be fine. He just has to find himself.
Yes. It all started when he flunked that exam. That's when he changed.
Nerves, that's all it was.
But why then? June the 15th it was. A comprehensive exam.
A nervous collapse. All the doctors said so.
But why then? Why June 15th? He passed all the other exams. Always been a good student, got high grades and everything.
Overworked, they said. Strained.
And I'd gone over everything with him. He knew all the answers.
Stained his mind.
He went in there prepared. I know that for a fact. And what happened? He turns in a blank paper, writes his name at the top, and that's all. Writes his name at the top. Hands it in and walks out. Didn't even try. That's the worst part. How's he ever going to amount to anything if he doesn't try?
Oh, and I'm growing up
upstairs.
I asked him about it, you know.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
I had to know what happened. He said he went into the room, they handed out the questions. He knew all the answers, opened up his composition book, wrote his name at the top of the first page, and then, all of a sudden, he didn't know the answer to anything.
He was nervous. You don't know what it is to be nervous. You never have. But I do. I know what it's like, and it can do terrible things to you, things you know nothing about.
I hope I never do. Did I have the door open?
I didn't hear anything.
The front door. Do you hear it?
Who would just walk in like that?
Well, who has a key?
Well, no one but us and...
Hello?
Gordon!
Where on earth did you come from?
Why didn't you let us know?
Not that we're not glad to see you.
We thought you were on the ocean.
I was.
Well, what happened? Didn't you like it?
I liked the water. I kept hoping I'd see a whale or some dolphins, but I never did. I guess they live out further where it's deeper. I don't know. Anyway, no whales, no dolphins, so I took the next boat back from Newfoundland. And here I am.
Why didn't you let us know?
I didn't think of it.
We'd have met you.
I took the Hackney coach from the station. Had a little trouble with the front door.
But you have a key.
Wouldn't turn in the lock for some reason. But somebody opened it for me. When did you hire a butler?
What? A butler? We've never had a butler.
Butlers are hard to come by these days.
Funny, I could have sworn it was a butler who opened the door for me. I didn't speak to him or anything. He didn't speak to me.
It must have been one of the maids.
I suppose it could have been. Right now, I'd like to go up to my room and change. I've been in these clothes for a long time.
Oh, where's your valise?
Do you want me to get it for you?
Oh, never mind. I'll see to it.
All right. You go on upstairs and change and then come back down and we'll have a drink together.
All right. That would be, very nice. I won't be long.
Well, what do you make of that?
He's not himself. He's just not himself.
It's worse than when he went away. Now he's seeing things.
He should never have gone away. He should have stayed here where people love him. I could have taken care of him. He shouldn't have gone off all alone to be with strangers. Maybe if I'd gone with him...
Grown men don't take their mothers along on a trip like that.
Well, somebody should have been with him.
Meaning me?
Meaning somebody. Oh, I don't know. I just know he should never have gone. He should have stayed home.
Well, now that he's here, maybe things will get better. When he starts to settle in, look up his old friends, decide what he wants to do with his life.
Hush, hush. I think he's coming downstairs.
Gordon?
We're waiting for you, dear.
How do I look?
Ah, splendid, splendid. Now, how about a drink?
I didn't take a bath. I hope I'm presentable.
You look fine. Have I told you how glad I am to have you home? Come sit down.
Yes. I'll make you a drink. And another for myself.
Hold up on that, will you? I'd like to get something to eat first.
Let me fix you something.
I'd like to do it myself.
Well, all right, whatever you say.
Well, do whatever you like. Anything at all.
Thank you. Can I fix anything for either of you?
Oh, not for me.
Oh, I don't care for anything, thank you.
Oh, by the way, thank you, Mother, for laying my clothes out for me.
But I didn't...
They look nice. All spread out on the bed, waiting for me to put them on.
Gordon, your mother and I have not stirred from this room.
Oh, that's right. So you haven't. Well, it must have been the butler, then.
There is no butler.
Or maid, or whoever did it. Thank him for me, or her. I'll come back as soon as I fix myself a bite to eat.
Owen, I'm frightened.
Yes, so am I.
Still, he doesn't seem unhappy. I mean, that's something.
Lunatics don't seem unhappy either.
Don't you dare call my son a lunatic. He's a neurasthenic. That's what the doctor said, a neurasthenic.
Nellie, he walks in here, thinks a butler opens the door for him. He goes upstairs and thinks somebody's laid out his clothes for him.
Well, now, listen, I might have done that. I spent a lot of time in his room since he's been away. I might have gone over his things, and maybe I left some of them out on the bed, meaning to have them pressed or something.
Why would you do that? When we didn't expect him back for 3 months.
I didn't say I did it. I said I might have.
Yes, I suppose you could have done anything under the influence.
Now, don't start that again. I don't do strange things. I just take a little whiskey for the pain.
A lot of whiskey.
Well, sometimes I have a lot of pain. Now, let's not discuss it.
We'd better discuss what we're going to do with Gordon.
We're not going to do anything with Gordon. We're going to welcome him home and make him comfortable and feeling loved and cherished and looked after. And any little strangeness, well, we are simply going to overlook it. Pretend we don't notice, and after a while, you'll see he'll be all right.
You think so, do you?
I'm positive. Love conquers all. That's what they say, and I believe it with all my heart.
I hope you're right.
Say, look what I found in the kitchen.
Something good?
Cold sliced chicken and some salad all set out on the table. Like it knew what I wanted and had it ready for me. Anybody want some of it? There's plenty. Mother? Father?
Nellie shook her head no, and I muttered something about waiting for dinner. Gordon sat there looking pleased and contented and finished the whole plate. He didn't seem to question the fact that food had been left for him in the kitchen when there hadn't been anyone in the kitchen to leave it for him.
Near the turn of our century, a widely recommended treatment for what was then called neurasthenia was a long sea voyage. It was known as the Weir-Mitchell cure. The throb of the ocean, the sea air, and the isolation of the patient from life's hurly-burly were supposed to bring him back to normal. It was eventually abandoned because isolating people from life's hurly-burly also isolated them from human help. The mighty ocean could not, of itself, effect a cure. I'll be back shortly with Act 2.
Hello, this is Max Moran. Do you have a sight problem that prevents you from reading? I've got good news for you about Choice Magazine Listening, a free service. Every other month, Choice Magazine Listening will send you, free, on phonograph records, 8 hours of selections from leading magazines featuring writers like William Styron, Joyce Carol Oates, John McPhee, Kurt Vonnegut, Art Buchwald, many others. So if you are blind or unable to read regular print, or if you know someone with this problem, write to Listening, Box 10, Port Washington, New York, 11050. We'll also tell you how to get the special record player provided free by the Library of Congress as part of its Talking Book program. So, write Listening, Box 10, Port Washington, New York, 11050, or telephone 516-883-8280. That's 516-883-8280. A public service message on behalf of the nonprofit Lucerna Fund.
Come see some great entertainment. Come on down.
Come to the Detroit Auto Show today and see the surprising Americans, the new 1982 Buicks, Regal, Skylark, LeSabre, Electric, and the all-new front-wheel drive Century.
Come see Detroit entertainment. Come see Detroit Auto Show. Let's run back into life. Bring the news, bring the word. The Auto Show.
After you see the surprise cars of the year, the new Buicks meet quarterback Eric Hipple of the Detroit Lions. He'll be at the Buick display from 1 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday, and 7 to 10 on weekdays.
Lay down that song, entertainment at Detroit Auto Show.
See quarterback Eric Hipple and your Metro Buick dealers today at the Detroit Auto Show. Don't miss it.
A painter may, on occasion, feel the presence of Rembrandt, a poet that of Keats or Shelley, a playwright that of Shakespeare. An inventor may sense the presence of Edison, a scientist that of Einstein. And of course, the religious strive constantly to feel the presence of God.
My husband and I sat awkward and nearly silent while Gordon finished his plate of cold chicken and salad. I couldn't tell what Owen was thinking, but my mind was crammed with the wildest of conjectures. Gordon looked peaceful, almost happy. Was Was this a sign that he had recovered? Or did it mean that he had lost leave of his senses entirely? When he'd cleaned his plate to the last scrap, he excused himself, saying he was going to his room for a nap.
What do you think?
I don't know what to think.
Neither do I.
I think he's all right.
Well, he looks all right.
Well, that's what I mean. He looks fine.
Good appetite.
And his color's good.
Doesn't seem a bit nervous. Do you know, it's possible the sea voyage did him good. That is possible, isn't it? Even if he did cut it short.
Maybe he just needed to get away for a bit.
Now listen, I have an idea. There's a meet tomorrow. Why don't we all ride out?
Oh, and I don't really like fox hunting. You know that. I'm always so afraid there'll be a kill.
Oh, don't be silly. Generally, we draw a blank. You know that. Anyway, tomorrow will be just cubbing, training the young hounds. What do you say? Gordon's got a good seat. He knows the countryside.
He's never hunted.
Well, he can stay back in the field. I'll have to be up front because I'm the master, but he'll stay behind with you.
Maybe I'll just go hilltopping up on Moon Ridge. You can see everything from there.
Well, if you want to. Well, come on, let's go tell him.
Oh, and let me talk to him first. I don't want you bullying him into going, making him feel ashamed if he doesn't feel like it.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, you've been known to.
I just thought a day of good hunting, watching the hounds work. You know, feeling a horse under him.
You won't overmount him now.
I'll put him on Princess. That old mare knows the ground better than I do. She could cover it by herself. She's got every jump memorized. She's taken them so many times. Yeah, she's a wise old lady. I'd put a 4-year-old child on her back.
Well, I'll go ask him. Give me a few minutes, then you come up. I told myself that a day's hunting might be just the thing. A short trip to Newfoundland and back. It certainly hadn't hurt him, and in some ways it seemed to have done him good. But I wouldn't force him. I was determined about that. And I wouldn't let Owen force him either.
Yes?
It's Mother, darling. All right to come in?
Come in.
You weren't asleep, were you?
No, I was just lying here thinking.
Pleasant thoughts, I hope?
Well, not really thoughts. More like wonderings.
Wonderings. I don't know that I've ever heard of wonderings.
Maybe I made it up.
And what were you wondering?
I was wondering why things happen the way they do instead of some other way. Why did I fail that exam in June? Why did I let you send me on that sea trip? Why did I decide to come back when I did?
Well, why did you?
I don't know. Something told me to. Or somebody.
You were with somebody?
Oh. I was all by myself.
Gordon, I have the postal card you sent me from Newfoundland. I'd like you to look at it.
What for?
I haven't shown it to your father. He didn't ask to see it, as a matter of fact. I told him it just said, Love, Gordon.
I couldn't think of anything else to say.
Well, it says love, but it doesn't say Gordon.
Well, of course it does.
Look at it.
Love? What's this?
Initials.
H-G-M. What on
That's
earth?
why I thought perhaps you were with somebody when you wrote it.
Oh, no, I was alone. H-G-M? I don't know anybody with those initials.
Well, never mind. Doesn't matter.
H-G-M? I don't know any H-G-M. Never have.
Give it back to me.
Am I losing my mind, Mother?
No, of course you're not losing your mind. You're fine. You're perfectly fine. Now listen. Your father has had a simply marvelous idea.
Oh, he has. Another sea voyage?
No, nothing like that. You're home, and you're going to stay home. No, it's something quite different. Tomorrow there's a meet. It's not a formal hunt. They don't start till the fall. It's just cubbing. You'll love watching the hounds working and being exercised. I'm going hilltopping where I can watch the whole thing. Well, how do you feel about it?
Have I got the proper things to wear? Hunting people are so fussy.
You mean you really want to go?
I've still got that old tweed rat catcher, haven't I?
Of course, and you can wear your father's derby because he'll be wearing a hunt cap. Oh, Gordon, I'm so pleased you want to go.
It'll be fun.
All right if I come in?
Owen, Gordon says he'll be delighted to join the hunt.
Good, good.
If you'll lend me your derby.
Of course I will. Now, there are a few things I have to tell you. First of all, stay well back in the field because you're a new member.
I understand.
Don't go taking every jump in sight. You're out there to watch the hounds work.
Yes, sir.
Don't crowd coming down to the fences. Wait your turn.
Yes, sir.
Keep a horse's length at all times between you and the horse in front of you, so if the rider goes down, your horse won't step on him.
Yes, sir.
Keep your eyes up. Look where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Keep up. Don't drop back, or you'll lose the field and make everyone behind you lose it, too.
Yes, I understand.
Yes, and one last thing, then I'm through. If you can't control your horse, go home.
Yes, sir.
And whatever you do...
Owen, that's enough, really.
Whatever you do, whatever happens, don't tread on a hound. Understand? No matter what, never tread on a hound.
No, sir, I won't.
All right, then. See you in the morning at the meet.
Oh, Gordon, I'm so happy you go along with your father's idea.
I think it's a very good idea.
You've never really hunted, you know.
Oh, I'll be all right.
It's very exciting. There'll be a lot of people.
I have a feeling that I'll like it.
You've just come home. Maybe we should wait.
No, I think I should go tomorrow. In fact, I'm sure.
What makes you sure?
Well, I don't know exactly, but something does. Or somebody.
He looked so calm, so serene, so sure of himself. Like a confident, self-assured little boy. Like the little boy he'd once been. I couldn't bring myself to pursue the argument any further, so I kissed him gently on the forehead and went out. From the top of Moon Ridge, I could watch the whole Eastover hunt gather, hear the hounds speaking in their many voices, what hunting folk call making music. My husband, his master, wore his pinks and a hunt cap, as did the whips, the hunt servants, and the hunt staff. Others dressed decorously in black coats, derbies, white stocks, and bright yellow vests. Then I heard the huntsman's horn and his call to the hunters. Move out! And the hounds, free now, increased their excited yelping. And they all started off. A trot at first, then a faster one, then a gallop. 20 horses or more following the huntsman across a wide, barren field with the hounds baying their hearts out. There was Gordon, way back in the field where he belonged. Dear old Princess was galloping with the rest at a steady pace. She'd done this so many times before, and she loved it. I heard a call. A signal that there was a deep hole in the ground ahead that a horse might step into. The word passed from rider to rider. Where hole? Where hole? Where hole? It wasn't much of a jump. Hardly higher than a cross rail. It was only a fallen tree that blocked a path into the woods. Princess could have stepped over it. But like the good hunter she was, she took it in her stride. Gracefully, easily. So why, at the top of the jump, did Gordon lose his stirrups? Seemed almost to throw them away and fall helplessly to the ground.
He just let go. Just let go. That's what everybody says. He just let go.
Please, Owen.
Didn't even hang onto the reins after he went off.
The princess didn't run away.
No, just stood there and looked at that ninny on the ground. Idiot who couldn't even sit a 2-foot jump. Probably never happened to her before in her life.
Why don't you just be grateful that he was trailing the field so there was no one to run up on him?
Well, that's because I told him to stay back.
Well, he did what you told him to do. Be glad of that.
You know what's worst of all? He didn't remount.
Oh, you could hardly expect him to do that.
Certainly I can expect him to. I did expect him to.
Well, nobody else did. His first hunt.
I don't care what anybody else expected. I expected him to remount and finish the hunt. Not take Princess by the bridle and lead her back home. Great Scott! Even the horse must have lost respect for him.
That's not fair.
Everybody lost respect for him.
That's not so.
Well, I did.
You've never had any respect for him, never. That's the whole trouble.
What trouble?
He's just been your way of showing off.
Showing
Being
off?
a credit to you. proving what a great father you are. It was the same way with me.
You? What's it got to do with you?
I was the prettiest girl in town. My father was the most distinguished man. My mother gave the best parties, knew the best people. Lots of fellows wanted to marry me. I was popular. I was a wonderful dancer. I wore lovely clothes. I was invited every place. So what was more natural? You wanted to marry me so you could say, yes, that's my wife over there. Isn't she wonderful? Yes, she's mine, all mine. Wonderful and all mine. Well, I'm not quite so wonderful anymore, am I?
No, you are not.
Got a little tarnished, didn't I? Not quite the best quality anymore. Starting to be kind of pathetic, kind of mousy. No more sparkle, no more fun.
It's the liquor.
That came later, after you began not wanting to show me off anymore. You don't really mind if I drink a little now and then, do you? No. You like it. You like it because it keeps me quiet, keeps me sweet and pliable, keeps me willing to go along with anything you say. You don't mind my secret drinking at all. Oh, and you like it. You love it. You'd be lost without it. You like it more than I do because I hate it.
Are you through?
No, I am not through. I have a lot more I want to say.
Well, please do.
You've been exactly the same with Gordon. Darling, curly-headed little boy. Learned to walk before he was 1. Learned to read before he was 5. Top of his class all through school. Made the football team. President of his class. You're so proud. So proud. Then he starts to slip a little. Fails his comprehensive exam. Aha! What have we here? A son who isn't living up to what he ought to be.
Well, he didn't. And ever
He
since...
didn't live up to what you thought he ought to be. What about what he wanted to be? What about that?
Ever since he failed that exam...
He's been strange. All right, I grant you that. And now he's fallen off a horse. Well, who cares if he fails an exam or falls off a horse?
I do. I care. He makes me sorry I ever had a son.
Well, stop being sorry, my dear, because you never did. You never did. Are these words really coming out of my mouth? Mine? I couldn't stop them because they felt so good. So good. As though an abscess had been punctured and the infection drained out. I had never in my life felt so exuberant, so strong, so well.
And what has all this to do, you may be asking, with a presence? So far, I've given you only a simple story of a simple family with simple family problems. But we know, do we not, that no family is simple, nor is its story, nor are its problems. As for the presence, you will have to wait for Act 3 to discover its significance.
On CBS television, Mondays are magical with Mr. Merlin at its new day.
First, incredible potential.
Then, right after a little magic, it's Private Benjamin at its new time.
We belong to the same club. Gotta stick together. That macho exterior life is good for the soul.
There's no better way to march into the week than with Mr. Merlin at its new day.
Cosmic, positively cosmic.
Followed by Private Benjamin at its new time.
With a little help from my friend.
Mondays starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on CBS television.
Hello, I'm Victor Borge, reminding you that a smile is the shortest distance between people. And for a hungry, sick child overseas, your contribution to care can bring a smile into the life of this needy child, too. Please send your check or money order to Care Smile, Box 576, New York, 10156, or local care office, and you will smile, too.
Working hard, there's no denying. You do your best, you keep on trying. So take a break, that's satisfying. You and Maxwell House. So pour a cup, enjoy the flavor. Taste is always true. Relax and get yourself together. Maxwell House and you. Get back to the last of the feeling. Maxwell House. Only Maxwell House keeps you good to the last drop of your urine. Maxwell House.
Maxwell House has a taste, a feeling that no other coffee can give you. Because Maxwell House is always good to the last drop.
Get that good to the last drop of your urine. Maxwell House. Yeah. Hey, sure.
Is there any one of us who has not acted on impulse? Not once, but many times? If you tell me you have always carefully considered every move you've made, I shall not believe you. You've turned a corner, or you've spoken to a stranger, or you've quit a job or taken one because at a certain moment, something told you to. And of course, the greatest impulsive moments of your life have been those when you fell in love.
I sat in my room with the shades drawn, trying to find out why, since my mind went blank at 10 o'clock in the morning on June the 15th, I'd done one thing after another without reason. I'd done what I was told to do, embarked on a sea voyage, then reversed myself and came home. Cheerfully agreed to join a hunt. Then, over the first little jump, surrendered the reins, let my feet out of the stirrups. Made no effort at all to get back on my horse, simply took hold of her reins and led her back to the stable. Why was I doing these contradictory things? Voices floated up to me from downstairs. My mother's voice.
He's been strange. All right, I grant you that. And now he's fallen off a horse. Well, who cares if he fails an exam or falls off a horse? Who cares?
My sweet, patient mother, talking like a shrew? And my father.
I care. He makes me sorry I ever had a son.
Well, stop being sorry, my dear, because you never did. You never did.
What on earth could they be talking about? Why were they both so angry? Were they angry with me? Or with each other? Or had I made them so angry with me that they became angry with each other? Somewhere, somehow, I'd made some dreadful mistake that had destroyed the serenity of this house. I crept halfway downstairs and listened.
What did you say? What did you say just now?
I said you never had a son. He was never yours, never.
Gordon?
Yes, Gordon. He's not yours. You're not his father. He's not your son. Lord, I've wanted to tell you that. Now I have.
You don't mean what you're saying. You're just saying it because you want to get back at me for something.
I'm saying it because it's the truth. Gordon is not your son.
Larry, don't you lie to me.
I wouldn't lie about a thing like that. Why would I lie? It's the truth. It's the solemn truth.
Larry, I swear I swear I...
Owen!
Oh, Lord.
Owen! Owen, I didn't mean... Gordon! Come down here, Gordon. I need you.
I'm here, Mother. I'm right here.
Gordon, I've done a terrible thing. Your father, he's had a stroke or something, a heart attack.
Wait.
Is he dead? Oh, God, tell me he isn't dead.
I don't think so.
How could I have been so?
Mother, you'd better call a doctor.
Yes, I will. I'll call the doctor, of course. You stay with him. I'll call the doctor.
Father, can you hear me? Can you feel that? Father. Now, listen, you're going to be all right. Mother and I are here, and we're going to take care of you. We'll be right here. Mother's calling the doctor right now, and he'll come over, and he'll fix everything. And you'll be all right. I'm going to feel your pulse. Your heart's beating. That has to be your heart beating.
Gordon?
I think I can feel his pulse beat.
The doctor isn't in, and they don't know where he is or when he'll be back.
That's ridiculous. They must know where he is.
Wait a minute. There's a hospital in Eastover.
How do we get him there?
Well, they'd send an ambulance, wouldn't they?
Of course. Look, Mother, you stay with him, and I'll call the hospital. And don't worry too much. I'm sure he's still alive.
Tell them to hurry.
Don't worry, I will.
Owen, I didn't mean it. Please believe me, I didn't mean it. I'd never have said the things I did if I thought this would happen. Please believe me. Please. Owen Gordon's calling the Eastover Hospital for an ambulance. And they'll come and they'll get you and they'll put you to bed there. And they'll take good care of you and you'll be all right. I know you will. Oh, dear Lord, what have I done to you?
Mother, the ambulance is coming right away.
Oh, good.
Can you feel his pulse beat?
Well, I haven't tried. I don't know how.
Let me try.
Nothing like this has ever happened before. I feel so helpless.
Oh, no, I'm sure I feel his pulse. Now, try not to worry too much, Mother. The ambulance will be here, and they'll take him to the hospital.
It's a very good hospital.
You think we should try to move him onto the couch?
I don't know. Should we?
Well, they're always telling you not to move people. I'll just let him lie where he is till help comes.
Hand me the ask, and I'll put it over him.
Yes.
Should we put something under his head, do you think?
Here, my jacket.
Yeah, or that pillow. Why doesn't any of us know what to do when something like this happens? Why haven't we learned?
Because we never think anything like this is going to happen. We think we'll just go on being healthy and living forever. We know it isn't true, but we think it just the same.
And it does happen. It's such a shock.
Now, look, Mother, we've made him as comfortable as we can.
Do you think we should try to give him some brandy?
Mother, his heart's beating. He's lying flat on the floor. He's covered up. He's warm. We've done everything we can. So, we'll just sit here quietly and wait for the ambulance.
All right, if you say so.
Would you, do you want me to get you a drink? Whiskey, maybe?
No.
I just...
The last thing in the world I want right now is a drink. I don't need it and I don't want it.
All right. Whatever you say.
I suppose you think it's funny when I've depended on spirits to see me through everything else.
No, I don't think it's funny at all.
But now, when it's so serious, such a shock, I want my mind clear. I don't want to blot out anything. I want to be useful. I want to help any way I can. The last thing in the world I want is to drink.
All right now. We'll just sit here and hold each other's hand and wait for help to come.
Yes, that's best. That's the thing to do.
Mother, you and Father were having an argument, weren't you?
Yes, we were.
I couldn't help hearing part of it.
I was shouting at him, wasn't I?
Well, for everybody, you wouldn't call it shouting, but for you, it was pretty loud. You've always been so quiet.
Outside, I've been quiet. Inside, I've been screaming.
Always? Has it always been that way?
Ever since I can remember.
When you shouted at Father, it was about me, wasn't it?
Well, if you heard me...
You told him he never had a son.
Did I? Did I really say that?
Well, I was right outside the door. I heard most of it.
I was, really terribly upset.
Father said you were trying to get back at him for something.
Yes, that was it. I was. For all his bullying and the way he insisted on having his own way about everything, the way he tried to run your life and mine. He was the lord of the manor. His word was law, and if you didn't measure up to what he thought you ought to be, well, the sky fell in.
Like me, failing the exam.
Everybody had to be perfect. Well, I never claimed to be perfect.
Like me falling off Princess and just lying there.
Oh, like me forgetting to have his boots polished. Like forgetting to order soda water for a party. Like trying to mend the draperies myself and making a mess of it. Like everything. You see, Gordon, husbands can be like that. Your father isn't the only one. Oh, no, I've talked to other women, and that's the way husbands are. They work hard, they're successful, and they just take it for granted that everything that's theirs will be successful, too. They can't stand it that some of us simply were born to be failures.
You're not a failure, Mother. How can you say that?
If someone treats you like a failure, you become a failure. Gordon, I'll tell you something. I've never told a living soul. I don't take a drink now and then because my back hurts. The real reason I take a drink is because I can't endure being looked down on, being treated like some kind of incompetent. I just want to blot the whole thing out. Forget it. Make it go away and leave me alone. Just go away and leave me alone and let me sleep. Oblivion is what I want. Plain, simple oblivion. Every so often I have to have it, and I get it.
Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you tell me?
It isn't the kind of thing a woman likes to talk about. As a matter of fact, I don't want to talk about it anymore, even to you. Now, tell me about you. Darling, why do you think you failed that examination?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Not that it matters to me.
I just couldn't go on with it. All the work I'd done, all those big grades I'd got, everything I learned, it all just sort of evaporated. It vanished, left me, as though somebody was standing in back of me. A little to my left, in back of me. I stared at the test paper. But none of the questions were hard. But this thing standing in back of me, not saying anything, not making a sound, just standing there. I couldn't go on. As though my mind had left me. I didn't know anything anymore.
Oh, darling.
There didn't seem to be any point in going on, so I got up and left. There was no point in staying, so I left.
You must have been terribly frightened.
I don't remember feeling frightened, just peculiar.
When you came home, you did seem peculiar.
I was peculiar. Then the doctors started. Strain, overwork, anxiety, all those diagnoses. But all I felt was peculiar. So when they told me to take a sea trip, I went.
Oh, that was a mistake. I knew it at the time.
I knew it too. But I knew it for a certainty when I was sitting in that little cafe. I just mailed that postal card to you, and I sat down to have some coffee. And sitting there, I felt this presence again, this thing, or this somebody, standing behind me a little to the left. Never touched me, or spoke to me, or even made a gesture, just stood behind my left shoulder. And after a few days, I took the boat back home.
I'm so glad you did.
Somebody's at the door.
Oh, it's the ambulance, thank the Lord.
Yeah, I'll let them in. I must say they were quick getting here.
Show them right in here, Gordon.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. He's right inside.
Oh, well, I'm just here to deliver a message.
You're not from the hospital?
No, I'm from the freighter Manitoba.
Gordon?
That's my mother.
What's taking them so long?
It's a very short message, but I gave my solemn word I'd deliver it.
Gordon, what is it? What's holding them up?
It's not the ambulance, Mother. It's this man. He says he has a message he promised to deliver.
Well, what's the message?
Right, I've got it written down here. It says, remember me kindly, Nellie, and it's signed Harry Gordon Maynard.
That's all?
No, there's a bit more. It says, take care of our son. And that's all. Well, I won't be keeping you. You got the message and...
Wait a minute. Where is this Harry Gordon Maynard? Where is he now?
Well, Harry died at sea. He's buried there. Proper burial at sea.
When did he die, do you know?
It were June the 15th it was. Died in me arms, poor fella. You got the message all written down there, so I'll be getting along.
Thank you.
Harry Gordon Maynard. HGM.
The initials you signed on the postal card.
My real father. He's been with me all this time. He's been
The presents.
Mother waited by the door for the ambulance. I went back into the living room to sit on the floor beside the man I'd called father all my life. What would we tell him when the doctors had revived him? What would be kind? What would be honest? What would be best for him? For us? Only one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same for anyone.
Some would prefer to call the presence a ghost, a specter, a spirit. I myself do not much care for any of these words, but I do believe that each one of us carries in his or her head not simply one, but many presences of people we know or have known, love or have loved, and they will not leave us alone. I'll be back shortly.
Hi, I'm Landon Saunders, and you know, it's the little things that get you down. You wake up in the morning feeling pretty good, but the kids are sick or noisy or messy or all three, or the traffic's bad. Your job's no better, your boss is grouchy, your coworker's lazy. Your bills mount up and you feel tension that you didn't have before, and you become morose, depressed. Maybe you have 3, 4, 5 days like this in a row, and you don't know what to do. Well, I've got a few suggestions that I think will help you cope with that depression. Here's one idea. Decide not to let your depression dehumanize you. You're a person, a very special and valuable person. Nothing or no one can change that. And you don't have to react in any other way. Your depression is never bigger than you are, and it's generally not fatal. If you'd like a copy of my depression plan, it's free. Just put the word depression on a postcard and send it to me at this address. Heartbeat, Hartford, Connecticut, 06142. This is Heartbeat.
Do you sometimes hear the voice of your mother calling you for dinner? Do you ever see your father's face shining with pleasure or frowning in disappointment? Do you feel the touch of your grandmother or grandfather? Whether any or all of them are alive or dead, you are remembering and you are sensing their presence. Our cast included Norman Rose, Elspeth Eric, and Russell Horton. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale.
I am sick with the thought that I may be bequeathing my unspoken terror, my silent anxieties to this innocent firstborn son of mine. Why should God choose me to be the vessel of so many fears and doubts? Why? In the spring of 1846, a second son is born to us. Then, in the fall, Mr. Lincoln is elected to Congress. I begin to bask in the reflected light of my husband's rising star. But do what I may, I cannot avoid the shadow of the thin-edged sword that with each storm dangles more perilously above my head. On a February morning in 1850, it finally falls.
Well, we're rapidly approaching the midnight hour now here on this Friday evening, and a winter storm is descending on Detroit with a vengeance. A Super Bowl parade in Pontiac will go on as scheduled tomorrow, minus the Oakland County Sheriff. Those opposed to abortion gathered at the Michigan Capitol yesterday, and some workers at the GM Cadillac assembly plant were somewhat surprised at last week's auto talks. We'll have all of these stories coming up in the moments just ahead, and on top of that, we'll have CBS News covering the world in about 40 seconds. Good evening for News Radio 95. I'm Alan James. And Weather Command says for the rest of the morning in Detroit, a mix of freezing rain and sleet will cause glazing with hazardous travel conditions, slowly rising temperatures, east winds to 30 miles per hour and gusty.
And then later on Saturday, an early thunder shower with rain and freezing rain, then partly cloudy. Very windy and cold again with an early high near 32 degrees. Partly cloudy and very cold again Saturday night. Right now, it's 21 degrees.
News Radio 95.
WWJ Detroit.
CBS News. The weather outside is awful. And that lyric from the old song seems an understatement as a new blizzard howls through the northern Midwest. I'm Mike Stanley reporting on the CBS Radio Network. A madhouse. Absolutely crazy is the way Minnesota State Patrol Major Al